I'm going to step away from that gearbox problem for a moment to talk about this this issue here. This is that that jib that the end of the locking handle goes into this threaded hole, and then when you turn the handle, that pulls this into position. It's basically a wedging action that then will lock the table at whatever elevation you have it set at. So of course the problem that when I took it apart that I found was that this is cracked, and it's been cracked for a while. So I want to try and repair this. I've got a couple of options here. I can either try and repair this one or make a whole new one. If I make a new one, I probably won't make it. This is actually a casting. I probably wouldn't make it out of a casting. I would probably try and make this out of solid steel on the milling machine. Of course, the milling machine's not down here and set up yet, so that would be a delay. So in lieu of that, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and weld this. Now, because this isn't a large casting with like a a hollow shape to it or whatever, it's just a solid piece, I think I might be able to weld this with some success and not have to worry as much about the stresses as it cools. That being said, I am going to still preheat it. I cleaned it in the parts cleaner, and because I can actually smell it, I can smell the parts cleaning fluid on here. The cast iron's got some porosity to it, so ideally I want to try and get all of that residue out of there, and I think the easiest way to do that is going to be to cook it out. And what's nice about these pieces is because of their size, their relative small size, I could put this in my my little toaster oven that I use for heating things. Now I can't get this to the 500 degrees that I would want to preheat it to before I start to weld, but I can at least get it on its way there and cook out all of the oils. And I'm not ready to weld it today anyways, because that involves taking the welder outside and everything, and it's too late in the day for me to do that. And I also have to deal with how I'm going to weld this. I'm going to have to V out the area here, so I'm going to have to grind this out. And I'm thinking what I'm going to do is I'm going to grind a V on this side and then flip it over and do the same thing on the back side, and just leave at the very middle there a spot where the parts can touch, just as a guide as to keeping it all lined up. As it is, it's interesting that this doesn't really, these two cracks don't really line up unless I hold this at an angle, almost suggesting that this has a slight bend to it. Whether that's by design or by mistake when it was made, I don't know. But it does almost seem to be a curve to it. Yeah, it's definitely not, it's not machined perfectly straight. So anyways, and then of course the other problem is the hole here. My first thought was maybe I'd just weld on both sides of the hole, on the top and on the bottom, but that will leave a crack at the hole, and that crack may want to migrate back through what I re-weld. So I think what I'm going to try and do is I'm going to try and make the V deep enough so that I can literally fill in this whole hole with the weld, and then drill and tap a new hole right in this location. But I've got to check on those rods that I've got, the U.S. Forge cast iron repair rods that I bought. I don't remember whether or not those are machinable or not, because if they're not machinable, then I probably don't want to use them in this location where I'm going to want to drill and tap the hole. Probably going to want to use something like nickel 55 rods, because I think those are cast iron rods recommended when you need to do machining afterwards. But just quick update on what my plan of attack is going to be with this. That's all I get to say about that for now. Well, I didn't get much done today, but I was able to, last night I prepped and primed these two pieces, and today I put the top coat on. So
they look pretty good. I didn't have to be too finicky with these pieces because that one right there ends up being kind of up underneath the table or the knee, and that one there, well, that one's a little more. Came up fine. Well, this is going to be one of my shortest flea market find segments ever. It's the first week in June, and pickings again pretty thin. Past 2 or 3 weekends I've been through the flea market, and it's emptying out fast. A lot of the dealers are pulling up stumps because they're what happens is it gets really warm, the weather turns nice, and people tend to be less inclined to go to the indoor flea market, so that in turn means less potential customers, which means less incentive for the dealers to stay and put out inventory, which means less stuff to look at, which in turn means less people want to go there. So it's kind of a downward death spiral that happens every year around this time. Some of the dealers also, they start doing their yard saling, canvassing yard sales, looking for steals and deals. So anyways, let's get started. Picked up this extension cord. Nice thick heavy looking cord. It's actually only a 14.3 cord, but what I like about it is it actually says it's got some kind of a trade name on it. It's on the RE company. It says Rhino Hide Superflex 14.3 cord. It's got these molded plugs on the end, but on this end here it's actually got multiple, it's got 3 sockets, so 3 outlets, so it's a multi-outlet one. It's a 10-footer. Got this for $5, so couldn't pass on that. Can use that in the shop. And then for $3 I got this stinger. I had actually found this a while back and kind of put it off to the side. This was in a real mess of stuff. I had gone back for it at some point and couldn't find it, and then it popped up again today at the same guy's booth. So anyways, this is the I don't have the tripod, so I can't use my other hand to do it, but this is the style that you twist the handle here, and what it does is it's got kind of like a cam lock, and it locks down on the electrode. So the cons to this type are that the electrode is basically going to be at that angle, and if you want it at a different angle, you basically just bend the electrode. The pros to this is that you get a very nice positive clamp down on the electrode for a better connection. And you basically take this little screw out, and that takes this sleeve off, which exposes the big screw and the big brass lug inside there that that will clamp down on your cable. So it's easy enough to swap out a beat up old stinger with this one. This, looks like it's been around, but I did just test it and it does clamp down nicely, so I kind of wanted to have one of these style in my arsenal in case I decided to go that route. And I think for $3 I did okay on that. Then he had a really old Craftsman rollaway, and luckily I looked in the drawers, and sure enough, one of the drawers was loaded with files. And so I said, well, what's the story on the files? And he says, well, he said, like on the bigger ones, and he pulled out some pretty big bastard files, bigger than these. He said, those I probably want to get $1 a piece for. And he said, on the smaller ones, I'd probably go like 50 cents a piece, 2 for $1. So I looked through, and what I ended up doing was I spotted this one with an original Nicholson handle on it. And then I spotted this handle, so I put another Nicholson file on that one, and this handle, and put a Nicholson file on this one. This is just a finger tight deal here. This one you can really tighten down on it with this large screw head, and these files are in good shape. These are all Nicholson files. So I got these 2 here without the handles for $1. And then I gave him $1 a piece on these, even though he didn't say, just because I figured since they had the handles. So 1, 2, 3, $4 for that. And then he had some of these parts cleaning brushes laying there. I said, well, how much for those? And he says, well, I'll just take all of these were already tied together. Take all of these little brushes and threw in this one that I had already pulled aside. Nice parts cleaning brush assortment there. All of that for $5. So I was real happy with that. So $5 there, $5 there, and then I spent $10 with another vendor on my final item. Hadn't even unloaded this one from the truck yet. Nice chain with hooks on it. That hook looks brand new. This one's been around a bit, but looks like maybe a 10-footer or so. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oh, call it a 12-footer. Oh, what do we got, a knot? Nope. So you can see that's a nice, heavy, old chain link. 12 feet of it with the hooks for 10 bucks. His ask was 15, I gave him 10, and he was happy with that. So all in all, not a bad day, 20 bucks.